I'm Mel Stewart, and this is the SwimSwam Podcast. Joining me today is a very special guest. Today we have SwimSwam's senior international reporter. This person knows everything about stars and rising stars in the international space of swimming news. Of course, we're talking about Retta Race, aka Retta Race. If you're on Twitter, follow her at Retta Race, RETTARACE. You got to get that follow going on. It's a great account. I'm following. You should be doing it too. She is a swim analyst and a businesswoman, according to her SwimSwam bio. That's so long. It's actually 3 words.
Right.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
So I wanted to have you on because I followed you for so many years, and you have this incredible IQ when it comes to the international swimming news scene. And I know that you're on stories well in advance. And I was curious, and I did want you to go on the record and let me know what drew you to this niche of swimming news.
Right. I don't really know. I think swimming ability wise, I'm a master swimmer, but like the ability quite isn't there. So my passion for swimming as a sport just kind of pairs with my passion for data, and it kind of spun into this whole, reporting thing. And I don't know, I just kind of grabbed onto the international scene and ran with it, and that's all she wrote.
Well, we appreciate you being on. We need to dig into the international scene, of course, because we're on the Olympic Games are days away.
Right.
There are a lot of surprises on the international scene, a lot of surprises in international rosters in terms of members and the events. Let's talk about Japan. Biggest surprises there. What do you think?
So I, among the entire swimming community, was very surprised when Ippei Watanabe did not make the Japanese roster in the 200 breast. So I believe right now he's ranked 5th in the world, former world record holder, kind of had it in the bag at least to finish 2nd behind Shoma Sato, the 19-year-old who had ended up topping the trials there in Japan. So the fact that he was outperformed on the day of, and he actually put up a really pedestrian time. I think it was like 2:08.5, or, by his standards, pretty pedestrian. So he just didn't have it that day. And that just kind of goes to show what can happen at a trials or even at an Olympics, that the shoo-ins aren't shoo-ins. And, unfortunately for him, he didn't have it in the 100 breast either. So he's left home. And it was really heartbreaking to watch him as a torchbearer on the torch relay, because here he is carrying the torch, and it was heartbreaking. And he himself said swimming is a cruel sport. And he felt that more than anybody.
It is cruel sport, but that's the drama, and that's why people tune in. And we felt that on the U.S. side with a lot of swimmers, namely Nathan Adrian,
right,
who which is interestingly is the Ralph Lauren face.
Yes.
And a lot of these stars will sign their agreements based on the World Championships before the Olympics. Campaigns will be set, and then they don't make the team, and then we see them in the advertisements and the commercials. So it's interesting, dramatic, and always fun. The other surprises on the team, there's a one that pulls the heartstrings that
Yes.
And it's a story you've been on forever.
Yeah. So Rikako Ikie, so she was 2018 Asian Games MVP, the first female to gain that recognition. I think she took home like 6 gold, something astronomical. She was on fire that year. Then all of a sudden, February 2019 comes down with leukemia, which was a shocker to everybody. She spent the entire year in the hospital, was released in December 2019, just literally started training a little bit, inching into it, early 2020. Her first race back was August of last year. So no expectations, just kind of getting back into the groove, so to speak. And then here she is on the Olympic team in the relays for the 100 fly, on the medley relay, and then in the free relay. She actually topped the trials in both the free and the fly sprint events. So that was really unexpected from her own words. She was just kind of going out there, just, she was able to, why not? And then there were some people who were like, why doesn't she just, race these individual events at the Olympics? And her doctors, and the team are like, hey, she's on the team. Let's just have her do the relays. She's not going to do anything individual. So that's confirmed. But just the fact that her name's on the roster after such a tumultuous year, in addition to COVID, I mean, that's amazing. Totally amazing.
It always makes me wonder about elites and also about swimming as a sport being so hard. It makes me wonder if sometimes, even if you have this catastrophic illness, it does force you to take a rest, forces you to take a break, forces your body to rest. And I think sometimes people have hidden injuries. And but also, I think that everybody, because of this base of work that they do for years and years and years as age group swimmers, it pays off.
Yeah.
Comes back.
I totally agree. Yeah. I mean, I think she was in the best physical position she was to have a bout with any illness. But I mean, my God, if you saw her though, even racing, when she went back last year, I mean, she was so thin. She still is. She's always been slim. But I mean, the muscle mass just isn't there. So the fact that she is still putting up world-class times, yeah, they're slower than, her own basis. And she didn't make the swimming, the Japanese Swimming Federation times for the individual events. But I mean, nonetheless, she's shaking it. I mean, she's out there, and that's just nuts.
In terms of who's going to carry the torch for Japan, there's so much pressure on these athletes. It's a culture of respect and honor and responsibility, and it's not about you; it's about everybody else.
Which is kind of ironic, actually, because their main star was Diacedo. Okay, the IM double world champion, yes, from 2019, and so he was the golden boy. If the Olympics, had been as they were scheduled, he would have been golden. Okay. But the fact that he, sidestepped, he had an extramarital affair, which has in the real world has nothing to do with swimming, but it culturally was a huge deal. I mean, he lost sponsorships, his face was removed from Olympic imagery. So all of a sudden he had this huge black cloud, over his head. So that did affect his swimming. He changed coaches. He's now with a childhood friend, believe it or not, an ex-teammate. So he definitely has, different things going on than he would have had the Olympics not been postponed. But I do think he's on the right track now. He has put his full heart, mind, and body back into swimming. And, he's put up some very fast times, number one in the world. I mean, he's still 4:09. He's capable of 4:06 in the 4 a.m. But nevertheless, he's still ranked number one. I think he's going to rival, at least for the silver, if not the bronze, in the two fly. But at any rate, so he's still going to be the face of the games. Kasike, his partner in crime, is going to swim the 200 IM with him. I think they're actually going to pace each other that event, as they did in the trials. So I think that they're going to be a possible formidable 1-2 punch in the 2 IM. So I think that's something to look out for. But then also Shoma Sato, who we mentioned in the 200 breast, 19 years old, was like an inch away of making the world junior record because he was just too old. But bottom line, he's like 206. He's been 206 3 times this year. So he's definitely, in my opinion, I think I had him actually in my preview as winning the gold. So I think that he is absolutely capable of doing that. And I think he probably will do that. So he's absolutely one to watch for that event. And then Yui Ohashi on the women's side, killer in the IMs. I think she's going to put up a fight to Hosu in the 400 IM. 200 IM isn't quite her thing. I mean, she's still going to be top 5 in my opinion, but I think the 400 IM, she's definitely going to carry the torch for the Japanese.
It seems like for home countries, there's always a surprise, and home country stars are always breakthrough, or they have the meat of their life. If you look back in terms of history, on balance, it always happens for the home country.
But I don't know. If you wonder though, with it being crowdless, is that going to be the case? Is that going to give them not, you know what I mean? Is the advantage not going to be quite as apparent this time around because they're not going to have these like roaring crowds? And I mean, I've actually seen on social media, there's people in Japan that are like, I live down the street and I cannot go to the games. You know what I mean? It's like in terms of, yeah, exactly. It's just hardships all around trying to actually physically get there, even if you live within the country. And so I don't know. I wonder if this is the one year that there's not going to be this enormous, home country advantage.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I think that advantage is that you just clip the wings on it. If you're not there in front of thousands of fans, your hometown fans, I think that it matters. At U.S. trials, it was a little bit of a sleepy U.S. Olympic trials, and it felt like it should have been faster. It felt like there should have been some higher energy, and but it's just not quite there. We're limping out of this past year.
The only thing I will say is that a lot of, and I don't honestly know if this has been the case all over the world, but I know most of Japan's meets have been closed. So from like last year till now, it's not like this is the first time ever they're going to race without fans. Obviously, it's not on the Olympic level, but at least they've had some kind of practice, so to speak, in racing with absolute silence in the audience. So, maybe that'll kind of counterbalance, some of the fanless, atmosphere, but it's still going to be present, definitely.
Bring me back to Seto, Dia Seto. I want to know what you think. 400 IM, is it his? Does he own it? It feels like that's his race.
Yeah, totally. I feel like he's one of those swimmers that can just swim with his eyes closed, muscle memory. He's going to go after it. And like I said, he far and away has put up the most recent fast time. So his best time is 4:06, which I want to say is like from February 2020 or something. Where Caeleb, has been he's been 4:06, 4:07, I think. But I think we're talking like 2019.
17.
So,
17.
Oh, okay, it's worse than I thought. Not to say you can't do it.
Chase came clean, and we knew this on it to a degree. Some people knew, and they kept it super quiet. He didn't want to talk about it, which is something you do respect with athletes, because he had shoulder problems. He had a shoulder problem,
okay.
and he never wanted to come clean about it because he felt like as soon as someone starts to if they start to plateau and they start making excuses, it just feels like it's an excuse, and he hates that. He's a guy who's like, I'm going to show up at the Olympic Games and perform. Michael Phelps was his mentor, like his big brother. It's like, that's how you do it. So if anything, the pandemic helped him in terms of recovery with his shoulder. And so I'm wondering if there's going to be a challenge at all. I'm wondering if he's going to have with more rest, he's going to have a faster 400 IM. But
I think the challenge, I'm not saying that he's going to totally run away with it in terms of like he's going to beat him by 5 seconds. I just think it's his race to lose. And I also think that he's at altitude right now. I actually chatted with him this morning, believe it or not, Dia. And he said he's feeling good. He's still at altitude. He's going to be at altitude through tomorrow. So, that's saying something. Yeah, exactly. And he did take a break. He came down from the mountain and swam a 200 IM. I think it was 158 or 157 high. So that's in training at altitude. So that gives you a taste of kind of his physical condition. But yeah, you say he's feeling good, and I don't know. I have no reason not to think he's going to be the winner.
I think everyone here that's listening knows. Some people might not know. We might have some parents or kids that don't know. Coaches absolutely know. When you train at altitude, you're building red blood cells. Red blood cells deliver the oxygen, but that becomes a waning asset as soon as you come down to sea level. So the fact that he is at altitude and he's there now, it's like, typically Team USA trains at altitude twice a year, and then they come down, and they usually come down and they're hitting that last pro swim meet. And then there's weeks and weeks and weeks before the trials meet. So kudos to him for leaning into the science and
that, and it's also physically possible. Japan just opened its first altitude center. I think it was last year. So the fact that it's a home-based games lends that advantage to him, whereas another swimmer might not be able to have that particular setup. So not only is he taking advantage of it, he has the means to do so.
So I'm building to my big question, but 200 fly, Christoph Milakis, it feels like he's got a lock on the gold, and it feels like Seto has got the silver. Can he challenge him at all?
It's like I feel like that, but Seto got second at his own trials behind Tamaro Honda. So, and I think there were like 5 or 6 guys that were 155, 156. So it's not like. It was almost like, would he make the team? And he did. But I don't know. I mean, I think that's definitely his tertiary event. His IMs are his bread and butter. So yes, obviously he's in it to win it, to get on the podium. However, I don't know if he's going to be the Japanese man that's going to be on the podium. I would not be shocked if neither he or Honda get on there, or if it's Honda over Cito. So that's my take on it.
They're going to have a last 50. We can predict it here. They're coming down from altitude. They'll have that last 50 on lock. 200. So here you go. 200 IM. I called in a separate report. I'm like, in my opinion, Michael Andrew is going to win.
I saw that.
55. I didn't check with you first. So I called him winning at 55 low, but I said in the semi he would dip under and go 54 plus. But in the final, he's going to be 55 low for the gold.
Okay.
How do you feel about that? What are your opinions?
Yeah, he absolutely blew me away at trials, Michael Andrews. So he's raring to go. He's physically fit. He's, oh my gosh, totally capable of what you said. However, it is the Olympics, and things just are different at the Olympics. And so that's kind of where I lean on experience just a little bit more. I mean, Cito is the bronze medalist, in the 400 IM. So he's been on the podium. The 200 IM is, if he's training for the 400, he's kind of got the 200. I don't know. I'm leaning that way, but I do think MA is going to get, I think he's going to get on the podium. I don't think the 155 is going to happen. I really think the whole final is going to be in like the 156 range.
Interesting. Ooh,
yeah.
Retta Race calls it. She's saying it's going to be a slope final. 156 is across the board. Here's the thing. I think that's possible.
Yeah,
and if that's possible, then it's anyone's race.
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to come down to. I think it's going to be the field's just going to kind of go with the field, and that's what's going to lay out. I think that's what I'm saying.
Okay, we unpacked Japan enough. Let's move on. Other surprises on international rosters. You shared with me ahead of this interview that you had some interesting thoughts on that.
Yeah. So Sandro Condarelli. Okay, I kind of wrote him off, quite honestly. Yeah, I mean, he was Canada 2016, actually finaled in the 100 free in 2016. Here he is. He's Italian. And at the 11th hour, he made the roster. And we're talking about, it was like the 26th or 27th of June. He competed at Seti Colli trophy. And I think he's like the third fastest Italian. So he's made the relay, the 400 free relay. So that's kind of crazy that he's actually representing a second nation at an Olympics, and he's going for it. So he was kind of a surprise to me. Like I said, I had kind of written him off because he'd been a little quiet. He hadn't made the roster yet, and that was the last ditch, and he made the most of it. So that's another one. Mac Horton on Australia. I mean, he's on the roster, okay, but the fact that he was kind of a non-factor on individual events, as defending Olympic champion in the 200 free, that's kind of a letdown, for Mac Horton fans out there. So yeah, he'll be there. Yeah, he'll be on a relay, but it was surprising that he didn't perform as well as he is capable of, to grab an individual spot.
I'm hoping that you're going to move on to Laszlo Che.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I'm old, so I'm an old school fan.
Oh my gosh, totally. And his 5th Olympics. Okay, that's one Olympics is phenomenal. Okay, 5, that's just ludicrous. So yes, he's on the roster, and it's kind of by nature of there was nobody else faster in the 200 IM, and there was one. Okay, Hubert Koss, the whiz kid. Okay, so he's on the roster, but then he gets a second spot in the 200 IM based on his 2019 World Championships time, which I think is like 157. Okay, so again, we're talking like 2 years ago, which is kind of like dog years if you're like 35 years old. You know what I'm saying? So really, his most recent time is like a 2 minutes from, I think, the Budapest Open. So great, he's on the roster. I don't think he's going to be a factor.
Not going to be a factor. Even muscle memory will not help him. You're calling it right here.
Trumps it, unfortunately, in his case.
You just threw Che under the bus. Fifth Olympics, you threw him under the bus. Oh my God. Okay. One day you'll share a cocktail and you'll be like, sorry, I threw you under the bus. You have to. Let's move to Kyle Chalmers. You have been following Chalmers so closely. Did you talk to him today? I wouldn't be surprised.
No, I did not talk to Chalmers. Okay. Time zone's a little bit different, but yeah. So I was disappointed that he dropped the 200 free. And because for me, now he's a one event dude. Okay. Relays obviously is going to be 4x1, 4x2, medley relay, we get it. But individual, his 100 free. I mean, it's like, can you add the 200 free? I think you can. Dressel's doing 3 events. McCowan, I mean, basically any other Australian's doing more than 1 event. So for him to just kind of close the door on the 200, yeah, the schedule is dicey, but I mean, you're looking at Dressel's 50 free, 100 fly. I mean, I think he has like 45 minutes between, I forget which one is the semifinal and the final, you know what I mean? So it's doable. He's done it before at other meets. Why he's not doing it now is kind of disappointing.
I think you should tell him. I think you should blow his text up, blow his phone up right now and be like, come on, man. Unless you already have.
No. He actually, no.
I'm just going to send him the crying emoji, 203 exactly. Crying emoji.
Exactly. So but it begs the question, so I have him pegging, and okay, I'm probably in the minority, but I have him pegged to win over Dressel in the 100 free. And part of it is because of this, energy conservation type thing. So if that's the case, if he does beat Dressel, does that kind of diminish, his victory in a way? Because it's like, okay, Dressel's going to be coming off of all these other events. I'm just saying the question could be asked, so it's possible that somebody could question, okay, well, Dressel at this and this and this, and then he had 100 free. You know what I mean? Whereas Chalmers is, has, I think, the 400 free relay, and I forget if the medley's ahead of that. No, that's at the end. But he might have something else, and then he has, the 100 free. So somebody could potentially say he beat Dressel, but.
I think you're getting deep in the weeds on that one, because I think at the Olympic Games, if you win and you win gold, which of course he did, he does it this time around. No, I don't think that people actually, excuse me. A number of people do have this debate, but I think at the Olympics in terms of history, it's like, if you notch gold, you notch gold. So I have an opinion on the 200 free. 200 free is for someone like him. 200 free is taxing. 200 free. I swam in college. I swam. I was third at trials, the Olympics. Tried to make it individually. It got close, but when you're swimming a 200 meter free, it kills you. It's so harsh on your legs. I think he made the right choice. I would like him to take a risk. I'd like him to get in there and swim the 200 meter free, but I think you are correct in that he is hyper-focused on beating Dressel in the 100-meter freestyle. I would not pick Kyle to win. I think Dressel is going to jump out. It's going to be out in the lead. He's going to throw down the nitro. It's going to be too much. And I think that Chalmers is going to be dragging Popovici to a bronze while he takes the silver.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad you mentioned Popovici, because I definitely think he's underestimated in the 100. I mean, obviously number 1 time in the world, and some people think it was a fluke type of thing. He's not a fluke. Okay. But while we're on the 200 free though, I think he's a sleeper pick on that one. I mean, because he's 145 low, he dropped at least a second, just in a few months. Okay. He's on fire, obviously, in the 100. He has the length, his wingspan. I mean, he has the body, okay, for the 200, 100 double. So I'm really thinking, okay, it's possible. And I think a lot of people are focused on Popo in the 100. I'm kind of leaning more towards him doing a little more damage in the 200. But going back to Chalmers, I know you're right. You're right. Okay. But with the 400, so Elijah Winnington was the runner-up at the trials in the 200. And then Tommy Neal, 19-year-old Rackley 145.70. He was. So basically what I'm saying is Chalmers was 145.4, Winnington was 145.5, Neal was 145.7. So it's not like they're substituting Tommy Neal, who's like 2 seconds slower than what Chalmers' time was, you know what I mean, in the individual event. So I'm thinking that I'm bending to your decision that it was good that he dropped the 200. So that was a good debate.
but it still hurts you. You still want to see him swim it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. But okay. Tying back into Asia. Okay. I want to say it's Wang Sun Woo, okay, from Korea. He's another 144 kid, okay, I think he's 19. And I think also because he's not from Australia or the US or Russia, he's not under the spotlight, really. And I think that he's also someone who could just fly by night, get in there and steal somebody's thunder and get on the podium. And I think that would be totally amazing because Park Tae-wan was the only, you know, huge star from that country, semi-retired, hasn't officially retired kind of guy, obviously not at the Olympics. So for somebody to step up and actually kind of get into the medal contention is huge for that country, huge. So I think that's another one to watch in the 200 free as well.
While we're on the 200 free topic, let's talk 4x2. Let's talk Team USA. Does Team USA make the podium in the 4x2?
Okay, Mel, seriously, you're asking an international journalist. America is like my weakest country. Like I literally was watching the trials and I had to study up on honestly, who some of these people were. Because for me, I am focused on, Asia, and I'm focused on Europe. And so for me, I didn't have as much of a background going into trials and thinking, okay, who's going to get, I thought Carson Foster was going to get on the 4x2, quite honestly. So when he didn't get on it, I was excited because that's one person gone that I knew because he's from Cincinnati. I think it's totally possible. I'm liking GBR. They're really, really strong in 4x2. And now they had two 144s at their trials, okay, in Tom Dean and Duncan Scott. Duncan he's never not performed, okay? So you can always rely on him, essentially. Okay, James Guy has been there. He's a dependable guy, okay? So I think that they have the experience, and I'm liking GVR for that. Russia, obviously, is extremely dangerous. So USA bronze. I'm calling it bronze.
I think making the podium is a win. That's
yeah,
really
I think so.
That upsets people, but I think them making the podium is a success at this point, which is extraordinary. I can't believe we're in this conversation. But do you think Dressel's on the relay at night in the 4x2?
That is a good question. I really don't know. I don't know. I mean, he was 146, but we didn't have anyone. We had no 144s, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Sorry.
That calculation is going to be made based on his performance while he's over there. We're going to know at a certain point if who's on with their second taper and who's not. I think that we also know this with domestically in the United States. We know that Ledecky didn't rest at trials. We know that Murphy can rest up to 6 weeks and Dressel can rest up to 6 weeks, and both of them rested 3 weeks for trials. Okay. Which is mind-boggling. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to do a half rest and go to U.S. trials. That's crazy. They've got more in the tank. And so I'm calling it. I think he's on the 4x2.
Okay. I'm not going to argue with that. Yeah.
So before we move on, so Chalmers is going to flip what at the 50 and the 100 meters because you're calling him to win. Where does he flip? And is he gonna gain all that in the last 15 meters and out-touch Dressel? What you have a prediction on times?
Okay, yeah, he's absolutely gonna back half it as he always does. I think that he's gonna swim his own race as he always does. It's just I honestly think like World Championships, he turned it on just a little bit too late. So I think he's learned from that, and I think that he's probably watched that over and over again and has changed his tactics a little bit. So. Numbers wise, who knows? I just know if he's behind Dressel, obviously I'm not going to be worried, but he needs to turn it on, earlier than the 15-meter mark for crying out loud.
And just so we come back to this, does Popovici make the podium in the 100?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say bronze. I'm going to say yes. Okay. Me, Retta, I'm saying Chalmers, Dressel, Popovici. There you have it.
Do you have times?
Oh, that's another hard one. Okay, they're going to be ballpark. I'm going to say 46 high. Chalmers, 46 high. He's going to break the Australian record. I think it's 47.04. Dressel's going to be 47.0, and then Popovici's going to be more like 47.3, 47.2.
Okay, that was a little bit safe. I thought you were going to drop some heat, but maybe cooler heads are prevailing, and you're calling it.
But if you look at Olympics, that is dropping the heat at the Olympics. I mean, it is. It's no one. You know what I mean? It's like 40. What was Chalmers in 2016? It was 47 mid, right? I mean, it wasn't anything crazy. So
No fans. It's the Olympic final. I call every Olympic final way fast, and I drag everybody along in the comments section of SwimSwam, and we all start predicting crazy stuff. And the truth is, it comes down to being a race. Time doesn't matter. It comes down to being a race. All right.
Yes.
So talk to me about the Australians, and because it feels like, this nation that is, smaller than Orange County, California, always performs, always pulling the stars out. They did, in terms of the population, they're smaller than Orange County, California. Unpack Australia for me, because they're on the women's side. They're kicking butt.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So they had at least 4 52s in the 100 free, which is just mind blowing. Yes, they always perform better on their own soil. I totally get that. And everyone gets that. So the main question is, can they carry that over to Japan? And being in the quasi same time zone, I think Queensland's like an hour ahead. So that's a major advantage, I think, over like, honestly, the US or Canada or, somebody out in the West. So that's definitely, something to consider. Emma McKeon just blew me away at Australian trials. Okay, beat Kate Campbell not once, but twice, the 50 and the 100. Put up her best 100 fly time, I think, since like 2018 or 2019. Okay, and she's, oh my gosh, correct me. She's 29, 27. I mean, yeah, so it's not like she's like some, 21-year-old. I mean, she's been there, still putting up these heated times, and beat Kate Campbell twice, which I think has gotten, in my opinion, I wouldn't be surprised if it hasn't gotten into C1's head a little bit, because she's a little bit dicey, honestly, when it comes to international competitions and performing at the Olympic level. And so I think that to be beaten twice on her own trials gives her pause. And I think it gives McKeon the momentum heading into Japan. So I really think Emma's going to pull out a couple of special performances for us.
Seeing someone bloom this late. I mean, yeah, she's 27 years old, and it's for this to be happening now. It's a pretty dramatic story.
Yeah.
But they're deep with talent.
Yes.
And
we haven't even touched Kaylee. Kaylee McCowan. Oh my God. Wow. Okay. 100 back, 200 back, 200 IM. Okay, she's kind of like Chalmers with the 2 free. She could have swum the 4 a.m. Okay, that's a huge schedule. Okay, that's like a jam-packed schedule. But she's number 1 in the 4 a.m., I believe. Maybe that was at least before U.S. trials. 2 a.m., I think she holds a 2-second advantage over Hosu. So we were talking about Yui Ohashi making some damage in the 200 IMs or 200 and 400 IM for Japan. I mean, I think Kaylee really is the top dog in the 200 IM. And I really think she may come away with 3 medals, Caeleb. The way that she's swimming, top times, like across the board, and she improves. Every time she jumps in the pool, she improves. And she's 19 or 20, maybe she's 20 now. So she's at that age, where her recovery, is she's able to recover a little bit quicker. And, mentally, her father passed away last year, so she's, is kind of doing it for more than just herself, which all athletes are, but it's a little bit more, down to in her heart for this time around. And so I think she's a huge weapon in the Aussie arsenal. Totally.
In terms of the age, just to be clear, she just turned 20. She's been 20 for 2 weeks.
See, I'm pretty good going off memory on ages. I don't remember how old I am, but
it's in terms of the women's 200 IM, it feels like a door's open. Talk to me about Hosu. Katinka Hosu. She's 32 years old. Here's the thing. She wants to win. She wants to win some medals. I kind of wonder. It's like, I want to pick up a gold in something and then sort of move on to the ISL, the International Swimming League. So what event is she going to be the most? Where's she going to impact the hardest at the Olympic Games?
Okay, so I do think she's going to win the 400 IM, but I think it's going to be a battle. I think she's going to have Ohashi on her heels. She's going to have her compatriot, which I cannot remember her name right now, but she's like 16 years old, got second at the trial. She's going to represent Hungary. So, I think that before it was like Hosu and like other people. Like now, the gap. Oh, Abby Wood. Gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Abby Wood, Great Britain. She's been totally just blowing stuff out of the water. And I think she really, if she has the race that she can put together, she could challenge. Ohashi could challenge, but I still think, I think it's Hosu's race. The 200 I'm not feeling it.
Interesting. I forgot what Braden said, but I do listen to Braden. I forgot what his call was, but it's
What was it? I watched your thing too, and now I forget. I don't know.
So let's move on to Ariana Titmus.
Yes. Okay. She was her 200 free was, I literally fell out of my chair. I was like, holy crap. 200 free, 153.0. To me, that's dangerous. That's like really, really dangerous. And her 400, almost breaking Ledecky's world record. Okay, so that's two phenomenal performances right there. So I did the pick'ems. I did the SwimSwam pick'ems, and I'm one of the people that picked Titmus over Ledecky in the 400. 200, there's a lot of different players. It's not just those two, but the 400, I think it is going to come down to those two, and I think it is going to be Titmus. And I think she's going to win it outright. It's not going to be someone was sick or someone did this or that. I think she's just going to power her way through and get to the wall first.
Okay, so you got to talk me off the ledge here because I'm already on the record. I'm calling Ledecky to win the 400 free. I'm saying that the outlier race that I've been waiting for years, because I did that whole Olympic thing again, Loretta. I'm sorry, I did it. I'm calling her like something dumb, 355 or a 354. I think she's going to pull out this huge race because we have no idea where she's at because she swam through trials.
Yeah.
I was talking.
She was like 400. She was four. What was she? She didn't break 4, did she?
No, she didn't.
Yeah. So Mel, you're talking about like what? Are you talking about a 5-second drop?
Well, I mean, for a full taper, that to me that checks out.
But when her world record is 356.
I'm calling a world record performance because that's what the moment calls for. I think to me, this is the cruelty of swimming on the Olympic stage.
Okay.
The dogfight of the women's 400 meter freestyle is she hasn't been challenged. She shot out like a cannon, became a global star as a child in London in 2012. And she has just been a stalwart, an assassin. And so the question now is her samurai sword still sharp? And we see it in the 400 meter free. Retta Race calls Titmus to win. What's her time going to be to win? Because you're realistic.
Again, I don't think a world record is going to be broken. I think they're going to teeter on the 356, 357 mark. I do. I think they're going to like feel each other out, first 200, then they're going to kind of make their moves, and then it's going to be a dogfight to the wall. And I think Titmus is going to get there.
I think that's dangerous if you're Katie Ledecky because Titmus has more speed, obviously. So if you're Ledecky, she's going to have to get out there and push the pace super fast. Yeah. But I do think you're correct. I do think when you go through all the waiting rooms at the Olympic Games and the stress is on, and there's no fans in the stands, and it comes down to the color of your medal, I do think that I do think people hit the water, and they're gauging. Yeah. And so yes, I think that I think that checks out. And 56, 57 would be a lights out swim at the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
But okay.
You got to look at Titmus's, so her coach, Dean Boxall, I don't know if you've ever seen him on deck. Okay. Total, like, intense personality. Okay. But he has this unique way of communicating with his swimmers, and they deliver. Okay. Elijah Whittington, another superstar under his tutelage. Okay. Mitch Larkin is swimming the best he has in years. So I think that there's momentum. I think there's almost like this like unsaid thing going on with that group that I think they're carrying into Tokyo, and I think they're going to surprise a lot of people.
All right. I'm gonna. You definitely change my opinion every time I talk to you, because it's. I think you put my feet on the ground. Keep it realistic. But Ledecky's gonna win. Ledecky wins. It's going to be an assassination. We're going to witness it on television. It's going to be amazing. And if Ledecky wins, I'm gonna blow up your phone.
All right, blow it up, but it's not going to happen.
Well, here's the thing. We're going to have to, during the games, we're going to have to come back and unpack this, because when some of these things happen, I've taken notes, and I'm going to call you out. And if I'm wrong,
I'm sure you will.
And if I'm wrong,
I'm going to call you out.
Here's the thing. I just predicted UK is going to win the 400 medley, and that Adam Peaty. I can't even say the time. I did it just to mess with people, and but my point of saying that he was going to go so fast, I was saying Peaty's going to do a 54 plus on a flying start relay, which is 2 seconds faster than his best time. And I said it, and my point was this: I think it matters to them so much that, and particularly for him, because he's got I think he's got the individual 100 breast locked. I think that relay matters more to him. I think he wants that. I think that's something that is. So I think that we might see an out of your mind performance, and that's also our weak link on the men's 4x100 medley.
Right. And okay, and in GVR's favor also, they do Greenbank has come up to expectations. So they were kind of lackluster on the backstroking end, and not to say he's a Ryan Murphy, okay, he's not, but the fact that he can, hang a little bit, basically, just also adds fuel to the fire in terms of, a possible British victory.
You hang correctly, and you have a good flying start. So he is within range, and your flying start on the breaststroke is weak on one side and stronger on another team. Mm-hmm. 2 or 3 tenths, and it's like you've a lot of ground can be made up. Now, mm-hmm. I don't want. I'm winding down to a close on this podcast. If you've left anything on the table, there's like, hey Mel, there's somebody we got to talk about. I don't want to cut you off before you have that moment.
Gosh, I'm looking.
This is going to be Retta Race final thoughts.
Oh, my final thoughts. Okay. Another wow moment. I wish Duncan Scott was swimming the 100 free. He's not, and that's okay. But that's okay. So we have another 16. We're going to have 2 16-year-olds. So Popovici, there might even be more for another nation. There probably is that I don't know about, but David Popovici and then Jacob Whittle. So I think it's great to mention Jacob Whittle, 16-year-old, going to make his Olympic debut in the 100 free, like a man's race. So I don't think he's going to final. I mean, he's like in the 48 range. However, it would have been nice to see Duncan Scott he finaled in that in 2016. So he dropped it, and he's gunning for the 200 IM, which is, obviously Lucido is going to have all, cylinders on full fire. But so anyway, so that's kind of one of my regrets, I guess.
So then one final thought. Look into your crystal ball and tell me 8 days of swimming competition are over. And we have had moments of disappointment, moments of like, it was okay, cool. My favorite swimmer won or made the podium. But there's going to be a few moments that are dramatic. And people are going to be emotional about those moments. And they're going to watch those race videos over and over and over. Can you call that one event where we're going to be surprised? It's like, well, this is what we're going to remember about the 2020 Olympic Games in Tokyo.
Oh my Lord. Well, okay. I'm going to go with Milat, 200 fly. I think he's just going to literally put down something that we don't think is possible. I'm not just saying, I know, but I'm saying I know. I'm thinking he's going to just floor us. And I think we're going to have to pick up the pieces and talk about it for years.
Okay. So you don't get the final thought. I get the final thought.
Oh.
Totally. First of all, I swam 200 butterfly. So 200 butterfly is sort of like watching him swim is like a religious experience because he's so great at it. But my opinion is that he just wins the race because he can, and that he challenges Dressel in the 100 fly. And we think Dressel is more of a lock in the 100 fly than if you're Team USA fan, you're feeling way too comfortable with him winning that gold medal. So I think that Krzysztof Mielak is going to turn in. He's going to rest a little more. He's going to put some extra rest on his taper. 200 fly might not be fully sharp on the end, but his 100 fly is going to be lightning fast. That's my thought.
Okay, that I hadn't considered that. I hadn't, but I'm still. I don't know. I'm still Dressel. Okay, you and I don't agree.
So we're going to leave it here. We don't agree. We're going to come back and we're going to unpack what's happened as we get into the Olympic 8 days of drama. Ladies and gentlemen, Retta Race. Follow her at Retta Race on Twitter. RETTARACE. Are you going to come back?
Oh yeah, if you'll have me, definitely.
Oh, we're going to have you. You're going to be back. It's going to be awesome. Good talking to you.
Thanks.
You've been listening to the SwimSwam Podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam Podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.